out that by simply eating bread would get you into trouble. Well, I don't think that Jesus and his disciples were thinking that on that day in Mark chapter 8. But lo and behold, sure enough, some religious people came down from Jerusalem, it says. And so obviously they were just touching the bread, getting a piece of bread, and possibly just eating it and enjoying a fresh piece of bread. But they weren't calling him out because they had unwashed hands. Because see, the thing is, they made it more about religious things than they did about a relationship. Religious people always have a way of pointing out things that are being done wrong by others that are simply trying to follow the Savior. And so Jesus calls them out. He points out that this carbone thing, a sacrifice that they were doing, you could donate or dedicate your money to the temple, and then you didn't have to help your aging parents or parents that were sick. And so then you could keep your money and do with it whatever you want. They had just the weirdest and strangest things that they were wanting people to follow and follow the rules by. But Jesus points out to them and says, you guys are concerned about how the cup looks on the outside, but you don't care what it looks like on the inside. He says you wash it and you make it look good. In other words, that's what you look at, how people act and behave and make sure they follow all the rules. But what's on the inside, you don't really care, and that's the person's heart. And Jesus actually said that what goes on in the heart actually comes out. And that's what defiles a man. Not how he eats his bread with unwashed hands or anything like that. But what defiles him is what comes out of the heart. And he says, out of the heart, that's where the issues of man come out. And then he begins to list so many of them, of the things that are wrong that come out of the heart. One thought that I had about Luke chapter 13, 6 through 9, is where Jesus again points out, and he points out to the people, and he says that the master of a vineyard had a olive tree in his vineyard, and in that vineyard, this olive tree no longer produced its fruit. And so he says, man, it's time to dig it up. And then the master or the garden keeper, he says, hey, let me have one more year, let me fertilize it. And I'm just wondering if we as a church need to be fertilized, dug around. But somehow he says one more year. That kind of indicates that there's a time limit on it. So I just wondered, would we be willing to engage in our season, especially what's going on in the world today? Would we be willing to do more spiritual warfare than we've ever done in the past?
This has been the latest sermon excerpt with Pastor John Penner. For the full message, please visit PrayCenter.net.